Hello and welcome to Austin Real Estate Experts, where each week we discuss Austin's dynamic real estate market and showcase some of Austin's finest homes. Today we're at Carillon, a D.R. Horton community just east of Manor, about a cup of coffee away from downtown Austin. Easy commute. Wonderful new home community, in fact, just entering its second phase and really in reach for everyone. Highly affordable. I think we've got homes from the upper 300s.
Yes. Wow.
And really home product for everyone. So we were talking off camera before we started today a little bit about some of the mixed headlines that we're getting about the market. It's the best time ever to buy. It's the worst time to buy. Which one is it?
We're in the best town. We're in the worst town. What?
That's most overvalued.
Right.
Best opportunity.
Right.
The
perspective.
It really is. Yeah. I think a lot of it is the lens that you look at our economy through, and recognizing, of course, that real estate's a local business.
Right. And the term that you're speculating on.
That's
really,
right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, most people own their home at least 5 to 7 years. Some people will move a little bit sooner than that, and some people will stay a lot longer than that. But, speaking from some of my old new home roots, the best time to buy a new home is
today.
Today. And at the front end of the community.
Right.
Those are the people that usually got in for a better price.
But the truth is that is and has been a really good advice. It sounds like something you'd hear from a realtor, but you go back 15 years in any real estate market in the United States, and I would challenge you to find one where you would have lost money over that period of time. There may be one out there, but very, very unlikely. The 3, the 5 year, the 8 year, sure, there's ups and downs, but truly, I've not seen anything that appreciates like this product.
That's a fact. So one of the headlines that I read recently, I think may have come from our local paper, and it talked about our relative affordability related to other markets and being a tough time for first-time buyers. But when I looked at the most recent data, it looked like we have more availability than we've had since COVID, really since November of 19, so going on 3 years. So a lot of choice. Sales cooling off just a little bit. So we're moving away from the scenario of multiple offers. And gosh, there were times where we were having people bid on homes, losing out, crying because they were one of the 14 or 15 people that didn't get the home, despite the fact that they offered 10% over. And I guess now the notion that you can buy a home for its asking price instead of having to bid up over asking and maybe 50,000. We had some that were 100,000 over asking price. Is a really attractive prospect, particularly when you look at the long-term trajectory of the market.
Right. It was fun while it lasted, and it did.
Was it fun?
It was fun.
That's subjective.
Very subjective as to who's talking, but I think it gave our market a huge boost.
That's right.
But unsustainable. I mean, we would have run out of homes, and there would have been no first-time home buyers able to purchase anymore here. Mm-hmm. So I think that what we're seeing now was really necessary and good and healthy. I think that when the slowdown initially hit and is initially hitting, there's a little bit of a curve, but I can't help but feel like as a few months go by, we're going to start to see it kind of level out and then start climbing, but on a more realistic, more traditional, more healthy trajectory.
Yeah.
So many things are relative. You talk about affordability.
Well, that's partly is the cost of housing, but part of it is also how healthy the economy is. So
That's right.
the economy is doing well, and jobs are pretty prevalent, and salaries are increasing. That's also the other part of that equation for affordability, and
Right.
that you have such a strong economy, continues to be very strong in Austin for the foreseeable future, that offsets the fact that, yes, home prices have definitely increased, but they've increased everywhere. They've increased
Right.
in all markets.
That's right.
And what you said is, real estate is local, right? The market is local, and you qualified that by saying Austin. And I think that where people get confused, people who are not in this industry, easily confused, and I understand why. It's that depending on what article or what news show or whatever you're watching, are they referring to Austin or are they referring to the entire country?
Right.
Or the state of Texas? Because they all have their own profiles.
Yeah.
We talk about it in our sales meetings or sales rallies every week, and truly it is fighting the headlines. And it's hard for consumers. It's hard we do this for a living. And
That's
sometimes
right.
it's hard for us to go through and, kind of pick through what's relevant, what's not. And you made the comment that we have more inventory, right? It's easier to come by. Is it? I mean, we have a 2.7 month supply, which is still a historic low.
That's right.
I don't have finished inventory on the ground. Stuff that I'm putting on MLS, which you guys use and drive traffic, it's stuff that is coming out of the ground. It may be done
Right.
in December, January, but it's not just sitting there.
Right.
So even that term, like, we have more homes, how do you qualify that, right?
That's right. I think when I talk about inventory, it's more from a standpoint of reminding potential buyers that there's opportunity
Yes.
right now. I
Yes.
think there was a lot of discouragement
yeah.
during, and there was fatigue really
yeah.
for a lot of buyers when they lost out on 2 or 3 different opportunities when they were trying to get a home. Sometimes they go to a new home sales office and it's like, well, gosh, we just don't have anything
Yeah.
right now. We're not even selling to investors. We're just trying to serve potential owner occupants right now. But we'll have some more opportunities next month. Try again. So I think it's more about that. There's going to be opportunities again
Yes.
to buy. It's not like we just have inventory sitting out there. It's turning
Yes.
over. It's
Yes,
turning
it is.
over very
It's
well.
healthy. I think
Yeah.
Greg said it.
Well, that other headline is rents continue to rise.
Yes.
And so the time is now for a lot of our buyers to get into the market because their rent's going up $300, $500,000 a month. That's probably the most common question and phone call I'm getting right now is we've got to move out because our rent's going up. So now's the time to buy.
Well, and it's as we're talking about this, I don't want to timestamp this show, but it's almost hard not to, because things are changing so fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
And listening to what you just said and to what Matt just said, I think in the new home industry, when you're building, everything is sort of drawn out a little bit longer, right?
It
So the
is.
reaction time takes a little bit longer. Whereas on the resale side, what we're seeing on that side is what you're describing. For example, for the first time, we track all of our contracts at Austin Real Estate Experts on a weekly basis. And for 2 years, our active listings were like this long on a spreadsheet, and
Yeah.
pendings were pages and pages. And now our active listings page is actually starting to grow more like it used to be and kind of balance out. I personally have a home that's been on the market for over a month, and that hasn't happened to me in 2.5 years.
Right?
Another one, I took a price reduction on yesterday. That's the first price reduction that I've taken on a listing in years. So I'm thinking, hey, where are those first-time home buyers that got locked out of
Yes.
the market?
And I think a lot of them are sitting on the sidelines.
They are right now.
Some people are also hyper-focused on interest rates. And it's certainly an ingredient in affordability.
Yes.
But so is paying 10 or 15% over list price, right? I mean, if you add $50,000 to the price versus adding 1.5% to the interest rate, what's the net impact of the cost of ownership? It's probably more impactful to pay and finance $50,000 more than it is to have that little adjustment in rate. And
Especially
rates
when
are
you can
temporary.
refi.
That's
right,
right.
exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
What do they say?
Date the rate, marry the home.
Exactly, right? So talk a little bit about, what your thoughts are, John, on folks refining.
Well, we were talking off camera before this that 4 years ago, November of 2018, the average 30-year fixed was 4.94, and we're just right now in the low fives, high fours, low fives, mid fives, depending on the type of loan, FHA, VA, conventional. And so it's been 4 years, and we're about where we were 4 years ago. And so I think the 5% is kind of the new norm, and I think the sticker shock for those of us that saw 3% rates, we tapped the brakes, right? If you're a buyer out there, oh gosh, I was pre-approved in February and my rate was a lot lower, and now they're re-entering the market and there's a little bit of sticker shock. For some of the first-time buyers, they're seeing the rate for the first time. They don't have a 3% perspective on rate. This is what they are. They're 5%, 5.5%. So very still affordable, historically speaking. And there are some options and ways to buy the interest rate down. Matt touched on our buyers that were putting $50,000 over list. Well, let's take some of that money and maybe buy the interest rate down. Now we're at 4.5. Now we're at below 5%. And so that helps the affordability. And also preserving the cash, I think, is important too in some cases, because we could be in a refinance market in 6 to 12 months based on those inflation numbers starting to come down. We believe that's what's happening. The last reading was a little better, even though 8.5 still pretty high, right? But we were over 9%, thank you. So we are starting to see, and rates are going to follow those inflation numbers.
When you say refi territory, I don't know if that's what you said, but that's when you said that at that point we may be in an area to refi. What is that? 1 point difference? What would you justify, generally speaking, as a good time?
I think most homeowners, when they're looking to refinance, want to see a 1% improvement. So if you're at 6%, maybe get a 5%. You're at 5.5, 4.5. However, it's really a break-even analysis. Sometimes it makes sense to refinance and only drop your rate 1/4 or 0.5%, depending on the costs. So there's that's how we really factor.
And projected hold time, right?
That's
So,
right. That's right, for sure.
You maybe don't want to do it if you're thinking about moving in the next year or two.
Right.
That's right.
But if you see yourself in the home 3 to 5 years or longer, then you can do the math. It's an equation. So
One of the things I like about this format in particular is you talk about fighting the headlines, or I think folks are also kind of fighting with, those influencers in their life, and whether that's, parents, friends, and everybody's going to have an opinion, right? And so to me, like we try to teach our team, we want them to be seen as trusted experts who care. No doubt the word sales office is on our door for a reason, but our job is to facilitate that, figure out what their current dissatisfaction is, and try to find a solution to that.
Right.
And in doing that, whether that's talking to a lender, talking to a realtor who truly does have expertise in that particular subject matter, I just think that's so important, because everybody wants to give advice, but I just encourage folks, talk to the experts, right?
Right.
And whether that's in that neighborhood, that new community, that lender, they're going to give you the most sound advice. And so to me, this format is so appropriate for what's going on in our market.
And it's probably worth addressing. I know we talk about it pretty regularly, but why this is not a bubble. There are so many people out there that think, I run into all the time, assuming the economy is not about to crash, assuming this bubble doesn't burst, and this is not a bubble, right, David? And could you explain why?
You see headlines talking about, oh my goodness, we're going to see more foreclosures. We're going to see a big decrease in home prices. And it's like, I don't see any of that happening. Number one, foreclosures were a really bad problem during the Great Recession because we had underwritten the loans so poorly. They was just a whole different world.
Right.
And so we had a whole batch of loans. All the loans now that have been written for the last 10 years, 12 years, have had very good underwriting. People were qualified for them. They had the ability to repay them. They had a good debt to income ratio. So there's no big pool of loans that are going to go into foreclosure. That's really harder in the economy, and we're not going to have that this time.
And there's so much
that's just
equity.
not going to happen.
Yeah.
People have so much
equity.
Yeah.
It's like people say, yeah, but what if it slows down? Well, you have to remember how much equity are in homes, and how much equity you had to put down.
Right.
You and most people have invested something in homes, whereas being able to get a home and get a loan for 120% value, like in the bad old days, you don't have any of that.
So underwriting passed a reasonableness test, right? It made sense.
Yeah.
We've got lots of equity, and wages continue to grow in our market.
Yes.
And we have jobs. We're still growing jobs.
And we're really, again, the economy in the U.S. even, I mean, the July numbers were, I'm dating our episode here, but for July numbers were 515,000 jobs.
That's right.
Austin was 75,000 jobs. Those are way above normal. Tremendous job creation, tremendous job postings that are out there. That continues a pretty long-term trend we've had over the last couple of years of increasingly more jobs being posted. Even though we're hiring a lot and placing a lot of jobs, there's even more out there that need to be placed. Yeah. So those people all are, that's forcing population growth here. Our population growth in the Central Texas area is off the page.
Yeah.
But there's jobs for them. What we actually don't have enough of are houses.
That's right.
Gotta build faster.
I know. I'm building them as fast as I can.
One of the big issues about
Get your hammer.
How do assets increase in value? You have a big demand and a short supply. Economics
right.
101, right from college, and that's what we're facing right now in homes. And it's regardless of if we have a slowdown in the overall certain parts of the economy, we are still continuing to have an issue of we have a lot of people and we don't have enough homes.
Right.
Well,
so home prices are not going to decrease.
That's right. And there are options for people, and I think one of the things that people became more comfortable with during the kind of the heart of the pandemic was moving out to the suburbs more so, and not being hyper focused on the density of the city, recognizing that there were affordable options to begin creating wealth from really the principal building block of home ownership in the suburbs, and know that, well, you can commute into town if you need the energy of the city, or if you have to go into the office once a week. But so many people can work from home. So as we play catch up, and we're still catching up from the Great Recession, the suburbs and places like Carillon play a big role in that.
Yes.
Well, and when you talk about the growth that, say, your company, D.R. Horton, is going to see, that's going to be mostly suburbs because that's where the available land is now.
Yeah.
So really, it's as that inventory grows, that is naturally going to be where the availability is, and that'll drive some of that.
So median pricing well into the mid 500s and beyond means that half the homes are valued over that and half are below that. With home product from the high 300s, you're well below median price, which means a community like Carillon is well within the reach of a lot of different homeowners.
Yeah, that's our goal. It always has been. D.R. Horton prides itself on providing very affordable homes for families that need them. And whether that's here in Carillon, right? Manier's been, such a great submarket, or Pflugerville, or Hutto, or Bastrop, Elgin, you name it. Those are still, with the infrastructure we have now, easy commutes to downtown Austin, or to Tesla, or to the Apple campus, wherever you're going to go. Samsung, it's huge. It's just such a corridor that's blowing up. And I'm proud that, that we can help folks sub 400, sometimes even sub 350, depending on the community, because there's such a need for that today. There's
Your point about people are not having to commute all 5 days is very real. There's just so many companies now that have embraced the idea that remote work is just part of their life now, and you're gonna ask employees to come in 1 or 2 days a week. Well, that makes a suburb a whole much more attractive than in the past.
I saw a recent article that cited 2 to 3 day in office hybrid model was becoming the predominant for large employers.
I would love to see some stats on percentage-wise how many households have somebody working remotely.
My husband has been a remote worker for years and years, but most certainly as a home builder, we saw that need. Even pre-pandemic, some of that was starting, especially here in Austin because of the different businesses that we have. But for instance, this plan, we have a beautiful, nice size home office in addition to the 3 bedrooms. and we were strategic around designing plans that would accommodate one, sometimes two folks that are working from their home.
Yeah.
And then, of course, during the pandemic, even children that maybe were having to do some schooling from home as well. So
Right.
I think our plans have even evolved over the last few years proactively.
This
right,
plan
to
we're in
accommodate.
today is just a really good fit for that.
Thank you. I
That's-
love it.
As a side note, I was going to say the same thing.
Thank you.
It's a very efficient design. It's an open floor plan, and you've got an incredible amount of bedrooms, bathrooms
Yes.
for the overall square footage.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean,
Lives wide open.
I like that when you walk in the front door, it just kind of opens, up. It welcomes
Mm-hmm.
you. You've got your office, let's say your workspace more up front. Your master's secluded in the back for some privacy. I think we're going to continue to develop product that meets that need, or obviously it's our job to kind of anticipate that need. So super excited. This model we've been open for a month, maybe just a month. We haven't had our official grand opening, so it's been received really well for that reason.
And despite being well below median price, offering features like stainless steel appliances, granite countertops, tile backsplashes, I mean, it's really a lot of value for the money. The value engineering out here is phenomenal. I mean, it's just a tremendous value to own a home that really feels complete and turnkey. You know?
And the amenities are under construction. That's another thing we found during the pandemic, that folks wanted to have a place to go, to get out of the home, not just their backyard, but where they could gather, still practice plenty of social distancing, right? And have fun with their friends and their family. So we're super excited that the amenities are under construction. They'll be wrapped up here in a few months, and that's been another draw here for Carillon.
Outstanding. Well, we talked about it being a cup of coffee away from downtown. I think it's a cup of coffee or less away from some pretty good barbecue too.
Yes,
What I
yes.
understand.
Right down to Andy.
But I will not say who's got the best barbecue.
No. Yes.
Let the debate begin.
That is a Ford Chevy Dodge debate.
So cast your vote for best barbecue.
That's right.
Outstanding. So, talking again about interest rates, I think, if I recall, Janet, D.R. Horton still has some commitment money
We do.
for a little bit better interest rate for a limited time. Is that right?
We do, and it is, once it's gone, it's gone. But most certainly that's an option we've been able to offer our clients, and it cost us money to buy that commitment, but we felt like it was the right investment for our clients to help them kind of overcome whether that was the rate shock or maybe the pricing that had escalated over time. And I'm just proud to work for a builder that looks at it that way. It truly is, how can we help a first time move up buyer get in a home today? And when you approach the market with that intent and that heart, I think the market will respond, and that's why we're America's #1 builder.
That's
you go.
outstanding. I think a lot of people also envision that they need 10% or 20% down to get in a home.
Yeah.
And they're depending on the type of loan. Gosh, if you're a VA buyer, it could be 0 down.
Yes.
And there may be other programs to help mitigate that. But FHA's 3.5%.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I mean,
And we do offer some closing cost assistance as well on top of that builder forward commitment rate. Obviously, there's some parameters there, but again, it's not just here you get this. What else can we do? How else can we help this consumer get in a home today?
Outstanding. And many first-time buyers might be also eligible for a mortgage credit certificate program.
That's right. That's right.
Tell
And
us a little bit about how that works, John.
Yeah, so the MCC credit or mortgage credit certificate, it is eligible for first-time buyers. Now, we classify a first-time buyer as someone who's not owned a home in the last 36 months, right? So they might have owned a home 10 years ago, but they're considered a first-time buyer as far as this program is concerned. So there is, in some cases, an upfront charge. It's usually $500 to $700 at closing that's paid, but that homeowner will get a refund back to up to $2,000 per year for as long as they own the home as an owner-occupied owner. So if they're in the house 5 years, it's $10,000. It may have cost them $500. So it's a really great way to get some. I like to think of it as you make 11 mortgage payments and get one free.
That's
essentially.
right.
If your mortgage payment's $2,000 a year, right?
How does that come back to them when they sell their home?
When they file their taxes, it's part of their IRS tax refund.
So, and note here, this is a tax credit,
That's right.
not a deduction.
That's right.
So I mean, this is real money.
They're getting money
is a
back.
check.
Yeah, some people might even elect to adjust their withholding allowances to recognize that cash flow throughout the year instead of just getting it back at the end.
That's
to
right.
help kind of moderate that and feel the results of that throughout the year.
Yeah, I've heard MCC credit for a long time, but I've never heard it explained like that. I'm now thinking about selling my house for 3 years.
wait 37 months. Yeah.
Janet, we've talked a little bit about Carillon. Are there some other communities kind of on the eastern end, really from, I guess we'll just leave the west out for now and maybe talk north to south on the eastern corridor. Other communities that people might be able to find D.R. Horton?
Yeah, obviously Carillon here in Manor. I mentioned Elgin. We have a community in Elgin called Peppergrass. We just opened a new phase out there. They start in the mid to low threes. They actually have some home sites that back up to a little creek out there. It's right across from the high school. Very affordable. It's a beautiful little neighborhood. And probably 10, 12 minutes away from here. It's really not that far. You drive through some back roads, but it's a beautiful community. We have new stuff coming up kind of on this side of town. I won't spiel anything too early, but we're
Future
super
shows.
Future shows. I'll have some, and the viewers will get maybe some insight on communities that are coming up, so they can inquire about those maybe sooner than they would have been able to before. On the north side, I think the last time we were all the way up in Lively Ranch. We have Parks at West Haven, which is in Georgetown. Beautiful community, very affordable. We really do try to find different homes, different product, whether that's Express or Horton or Emerald, to fit that whole life cycle for a buyer. That's important for us as a builder. It's important for D.R. Horton himself.
Excellent.
Well, Janet, thank you for sharing. It sounds like D.R. Horton's life cycle of homes really meets so many different needs. Thank you all for your contributions today as we fight the headlines and make sure people are truly informed about the great opportunity that exists here in Austin today. We appreciate y'all tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you again next Sunday.